My girl wants to party all the time, party all the time. And if I happen to, and if I do happen to bust out in that song during the podcast randomly today, it's Rob Sanders' fault.
We're going to bust out in happy birthday since your birthday's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm not singing to that old bastard.
Dirty old bastard.
Dirty.
Yeah. Monday the 16th, I turned 42.
You don't look a day over 70.
25 years ago.
You're about right. 57 on Monday, the 16th. Anyway, from Fox Sports Radio 1400, Rob Sanders, ladies and gentlemen. And to his right on your screen, I think it's to the right on the screen, owner of Mazda of Columbia, Greg Hood. What is good under the hood is the name of the podcast to play on your last name, Mazda of Columbia. What's good under the hood, bro?
Me.
I just get silence from him today.
Man, I'm good.
It's be a long damn podcast.
I'm good. Yeah, it'll be silence. That'll help.
That's going to help, folks. And by the way, like, subscribe, and share the show. Even though we may have moments of pregnant pauses that we cannot explain.
But I would like it also if you'd leave comments. If you got something to say, say it.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong,
I think that would be awesome.
If I'm wrong or right or.
And let me put this out there too. You mentioned that there are folks. John from the gym listens, and Richard in North Carolina listens, and they both message me about stuff that we talk about on here. Here's a thought: you can actually comment there.
Well, maybe they're listening on the one of the other, like iHeart or Spotify, instead of watching, because it's YouTube. But if you're on YouTube,
well, either way.
Are you gonna do your whisper? Or are you gonna do your Biden? Is that your Biden impression?
Yeah, it was just more along the lines of I changed my tone a little bit, so maybe these guys can stop sending me questions and they can just comment there.
Yep. He does get very irritable when you send him any texts or emails.
That's completely not true.
Don't mess
You're
with
telling
Rob.
some rumor and innuendo there.
It's just your emails and texts.
Yeah, that must be it. Yeah.
If Andy calls me, it's like, oh, this is good.
Okay, I have to make a comment for everybody about iHeart radio stations. This is terrific. I got my French vanilla coffee over here, which I happen to like.
Yeah.
I get a bottle of water when I come in here when I'm greeted. Everybody's so gracious. And then I went in to get my coffee, and I looked over, and they have glasses wipes that's high tech right there. That's
the whole box of glasses wipes.
I took them all.
Yeah.
No,
I took the box last
I
week.
came in and cleaned my glasses. Man, I got up my game at work.
We have lots of ibuprofen and other drugs in there too.
I sent you a text about the young lady that greeted me at the door the other day when I stopped by, and she's like, "Oh, we have the same bracelet." I'm like, "Who is this fine individual talking to me like she knows me, like she's my sister?" It was great.
She was your sister.
Yeah, she was great though.
You should offer glasses wipes at your dealership at Mazda of Columbia too. Here, have a glasses wipe.
Well, you don't need one at that brand spanking new facility there. Everything's laser cut clean.
We're getting close. It's by the way, so Rob and I discussed it. We're doing the walkthrough on Wednesday, meaning you, Rob, myself, and Brody. So
we're taking Miss Mo too, right?
She wants to go. I'd love to have her come.
Wednesday,
she has to go.
Like Wednesday of next week.
Yeah,
I want to come to it.
You are.
Okay, I was about to say I was left out. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, you are.
That'll be fun.
So we'll do that and walk through it because, they're putting the tile in today in the floor. It's kind of just all rushing together at the same time. And, the subs are all stepping on each other trying to get their stuff done. And it's
subcontractors.
It's got to be a little nerve wracking. So.
Well, you've basically rebuilt the entire thing. It's going to be cool.
Do I have enough volume coming through here? Because it's interesting in my ears. So anyway,
you're interesting regardless.
Thank you very much.
Sound fine, sir.
Yeah.
All right. So let me say this is that I'm not usually Mr. Show Prep. You'll send me out some stuff to make me think about it a little bit. And I normally can come flying off the cuff and throw a bunch of junk out there. But you actually made me work this week.
Well, that is it's good that you're actually putting a little bit of effort into the podcast. You've put more than Andy Wood.
Well, it's always effort, it's always more than Andy Wood, so that's fair.
But the one big thing I wanted to talk about this week, and the Fed basically came out and said, "Hey, we're going to increase interest rates by 0.5%." And I thought, how is inflation going to affect your ability to buy a car?
Well, so I'm going to go the same direction, but a different direction because you made me think about it in a different way. And I was thinking, how does this inflation affect us? And I forgot about a part of it. You can see out there, like Toyota had a record quarter. Some of the other manufacturers are doing pretty good. I think GM stumbled this last go round, but one of the reasons, using Toyota as an example, is they're selling everything they can get, which is terrific. But also they're not having to incentivize cars to sell them. So they're not throwing $3,000 rebate. I mean, if you amortize, even $1,000 on $1,000 a car over the millions of cars that Toyota sells, that's a significant amount of money. So they're able to retain that in terms of profit. But the one area that I did not anticipate, or I wasn't thinking about, was the supplier part. And we are about to have a problem because suppliers do contract stuff. And one of the things that even noted that the cars are not coming out of Dixiana over there like they're supposed to be, and I heard rumor of it. I can't confirm it other than the fact that I saw a bunch of trucks sitting this morning when I was on my way to work, when that lot is usually empty. The fuel or the prices for delivering cars to us from the rail yards or from the ports was a contract. Well, now, I mean, I saw a diesel at $5.65 yesterday. When that contract was made, it was probably $3.10.
Right.
And so in theory, it might be costing the trucking company money. They got to renegotiate. So that may be a slowdown in some of us getting the cars we're supposed to get. But when I can see 20, because as I drive by that yard over there on 321, the rail yard, then you've also got up the street just a little bit, you've got a fenced in area where there's a bunch of car hauler trucks. There's probably 25 of them sitting this morning. There were a couple that had cars on them, but I'm not sure what's going on there. But anyway, back to the supplier thing. So manufacturers squeeze suppliers really hard anyway. I mean, that's it. That's one of the areas that they can kind of clamp it down and make contractual agreements with the supplier. Well, when car sales come to a grinding halt or they slow down and then inflation happens, so now the cost of producing goods goes up, those suppliers are getting squeezed big time. They're not making money. So matter of fact, I read as I was doing this that they are being, for lack of a better term, bailed out by the manufacturers. I know Stellantis is doing, and for those people who don't know what Stellantis is, it was formerly Fiat Chrysler. So it's
Right.
Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Alfa, Maserati, whatever. But it is now called Stellantis. But they are actually helping to keep these suppliers propped up, because if they can't make it, they're going to have a big problem. So I don't often read on here because I can't read, but I read something I wanted to share because
wait. We have someone here who is an absolute astounding talent as far as the ability to read and articulate. Maybe we should lean on that. Is it something?
No, I can read.
All right. Well, Andy, I was trying to make you relevant, but not happening.
Here, read this part in Andy Wood's best voice.
Yeah, I want.
By the way, our commercial the other day was fantastic because at the end we went, "Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
and we said it together.
Oh yeah.
So let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. And it went through it, and our voices blended pretty damn well. All right, so we're gonna have the reader read it. You can't read it. Do you need my glasses?
There's no more light on here. Hold on.
Goodness.
Old people can't read unless there's lots
Just-
of light. Hold
Just
on.
the printed portion.
Andy's got that app on his phone where it blows everything up.
No, I just got the flashlight on. If you're making a little part and it's $10 and your labor goes up 20% and inflation goes up 8%, all of a sudden you go making a little profit, maybe 10%, to losing 10%. Sharky said. You're literally tapping money to the box every time you make a part. Taping or tapping?
Well, it's actually tapping like a tap. You're pouring it in. is
Okay,
what
you're
he's
literally
saying.
tapping money into the box
So I should have been the reader.
every time you make a
Yeah,
part.
I
So
forgot old Mississippi needs some time.
So you have no choice but to run to your customer and say, I got to have a price increase. Sharky said automakers are coming to the table, albeit, I got that word right, check it, albeit through gritted teeth and under protest. But most are offering lump sum, get well injections of cash rather than structural increases. Some automobile makers are threatening to withhold future contract awards to suppliers asking for increases.
By the
I
way,
get about a 60 on that.
well,
Yeah.
he is he sounds wonderful. We just have to prep him.
Yeah, you have a great voice.
I have to read it first.
But think about what he just said. He said that, so they're giving him a cash infusion,
Right.
but they're threatening them on their future contracts that are happening. So here's what's happening. So this will affect our area up in Greenville, Greer, Spartanburg, all up in that area. You've got Michelin, and more importantly, you got BMW. And then we talked about you've got other truck manufacturers and things that are up in that area. Those are suppliers that surround that whole area, and they are greatly impacting their profits. So, there's the old saying, pigs get everything, hogs get nothing. And if the manufacturers are not sharing the wealth a little bit downstream, they're pretty foolish, because one day they're going to wake up and they're not going to be there. And so all of a sudden you need 40,000 taillights, and the company is taillights. They're on their way. So, that's just one area that's impacting us. Go back to the interest rate conversation. When the Fed marks up something a half a point, banks work off a yield. So all they're doing is doing what we do. We pay something for our car, and then we mark it up and we resell it, or our parts, or whatever we're doing. Well, the banks do the same thing. So I'm roundabout, and I'm kind of halfway guessing, but I don't know the exact kind of formula to it. And I think every lender's different. But if the Fed raises it 0.5%, the bank raises it about 1%, because they're going to mark that money up. So, all of a sudden we're seeing rates climbing again, and they start making a significant difference. They're eating into customers' ability to buy a car that they want. They may have to rethink what it is that they're getting. They may not be able to get one at all. I mean, if it moves, and they're talking about multiple interest rate increases this year still to come, if they raise it about another 3%, and all of a sudden if they do, let's say it's 2%. So if you double that, that's 4. So all of a sudden now you got auto loan rates for great credit at 7, and you got bad credit at 28, which is always kind of where it is.
Who the hell signs a 28 point?
People that have to.
People that earned that. There's a reason behind it. It's not because they woke up one day and, I mean, granted, there's people that have things go haywire in their life. I've had things go haywire, but I'm talking about, the 390 score. You got to work at that.
Yeah, that's intentional almost.
Oh, you got to practice every day. Who am I going to take advantage of today? And they don't even pay attention. So, but the point is that, that translates all of a sudden into unaffordability. It changes the whole landscape, so these people now, the government's pushing everybody toward the $60,000 plus EV. They can't afford them. You put 3 or 4% interest on top of what they're paying currently for them. You can't afford them. And it doesn't matter whether you're leasing or purchasing. There's a money factor, which equals into an APR, and they're lending money on it. And then what will will happen is the market checks up a little bit. If it does, then the manufacturers will have to go back into subvention, and the wheel goes around, and pretty soon everybody's crippled by it. So I'm not really excited about what's going on. I'm hopeful, but I don't know what that does.
Well, with the rise in interest rates there, how could you give us an idea of like what an extra point would cost?
Well, no, because I was going to do that before we walked in here and I forgot. But
Okay.
You can get on an amortization table and you can punch in the numbers of the difference of the two. But it becomes, I will tell you this, it becomes substantial. I think I saw something on it. Somebody bought a $150,000 home and it went up 1%. I think it was like $50-something a month. But that's a loan that's amortized out over, 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
Yeah, you do it, and it may be a point, maybe $20. I don't a month. I don't know, but
But a shorter term.
I wish,
note,
yeah,
like a
shorter
car
term,
note,
yeah.
it's gonna
And
be-
then the other thing is then the next part happens. If the rate goes up, the term goes longer. So we're seeing people doing a lot of 72 months, which there was a study by Ally Financial that their risk was no different at 72 than it was at 60, because by the time you get to the end of 5 years, to the 6th year on the car, you're in equity position on the car instead of a negative equity position. You've paid it pretty far down, so their losses aren't that great, and you're not planted in the car. So it's not really crushing the consumer either. If it's not going to hurt the bank, it's not going to hurt the consumer. The car's worth what the car's worth. So it's the first couple of years of it is where it can be a little bit tough on them. That's when you're going to be more leaning toward the upside downness, because you paid down less of that principal.
Is it a combination of things with COVID and everything else? And is it going to get better? I'm
You
asking.
made him laugh.
I'm asking because I really want to know. You're supposed to be my beacon of light, sir,
yeah.
and you're not supposed to be a traitor.
No, it's going to get better.
I don't know if I believe your sincerity in that.
No, at
Great
some point
Hood.
it has to get better, right?
Well, it does.
When? I can't answer.
Well, I was saying the
listen,
same thing about the stock market. Eventually, we have to see green again. We're not seeing it
Hey.
today.
I stepped out of my office. You know, my entire inventory of new cars is right outside my office door on the showroom.
Yeah.
I saw all 3 of them.
Oof.
Well, the good news is that one arrived. We had 4 red CX5. So the customer, hey, do you want the red, or do you want the red color? So now we're down to 2 red CX5s and a black CX9. And then supposedly we have a couple cars coming today. But, you know, when I got 3 cars, it is just, it makes your stomach turn. I mean, what do you do with that? And they'll be gone. I mean, by the time we hit Saturday, I mean, they'll all be gone. And the 5 that are coming in, I think today or tomorrow, I think 3 of them already we got deposits on. So my inventory may increase by 2, and then we'll sell a couple more cars, and then we won't have any. It's very frustrating. When will it get better? I don't know. You know, there's still monkey business going on over in China with the COVID thing. They are not handling that well at all. I did hear, interesting, that Ukraine is kind of back up to pre-war levels on their wiring harnesses. And this is the great part of that. They're doing them in bomb shelters. Now that I thought was amazing because they're resilient people.
Tough as hell.
They are killing it. So they're underneath, no pun intended.
My favorite was the lady that was telling the guy, giving him sunflower seeds and putting him in his pocket because he's gonna die here.
Mhm.
So she told him, "You're gonna die here, and that way you'll be a plant."
Yeah. So
What a great thing.
they have found a way to keep that open. So if they're back, you know, because that was, I mean, they make wiring harnesses for cars, and that it really, I think it affected BMW more than anybody. What those came out of, but it doesn't matter. It has an effect on everybody because then you've got everybody sourcing to try and get different stuff, and there's a competitive level in that. But I thought it was absolutely fascinating that has
That's
changed.
work ethic.
Aren't the Chinese like a proud bunch, and they should be like, "Hey, look, these people are dealing with bombs, and they still get their stuff out. You need to produce some chips."
They're locking people in their houses, welding their doors
I'm
shut.
just saying, you know, you'd think that a little pride would come in there. They're producing during the middle of a war. Let's go. Get your stuff together.
I don't know the all abouts of what's going on with that at this point. I mean, we've had plenty of time to start getting in front of it, and I gave all the reasons for why it was a problem, but and you can't buy time. I mean, it takes time to get. There are companies, Samsung I think is one of them, that's ramping up here in the United States, and it's good for us. I mean, when we can be a little more independent and not be so dependent upon everybody else to make sure that we can make it, I think that's a pretty good move. But you're a couple years out from having, you know, a plant that's 850,000 square feet or whatever built with clean rooms and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see what happens. It's going to get better. I'm going to say, yes, it's going to get better.
Thank you.
Yes, it's going to get better.
I mean, when you say that, you say, yes, it's going to get better. I'm just.
Yes. Oh God, it ain't going to get better. No, it'll get better. We've just
needs to get better.
It does. And listen, I mean, seeing diesel at $5.65 a gallon. And I saw between yesterday and the day before, the little gas station in my town as a rolling out there went up 9 cents overnight. That's a lot.
We are at the highest gas prices ever. We keep it was up 3 cents from yesterday to today.
Yeah, I know we're not relational to what the value of a dollar is. I realize, and I think that's why we're not melting down under it. I think it's putting a lot of pressure. You know, if you went back to 2008, it was 2005, 2006 when gas prices were poking up in California. They were hitting $5 a gallon, but back then a dollar didn't go quite as far. Now it definitely doesn't.
I know my buddy owns a trucking company, and he's, the contracts he signed to haul logs and sod and everything else. I mean, he's having to go in and redo them simply because, as you were saying, diesel was $3.50 a gallon or whatever it was, and now it's over $5 a gallon.
So what is funny is I'm sorry to interrupt you, Rob, but what's funny is I in this last go round of price increases of fuel, I think it was pre-Trump, we were seeing fuel surcharges on everything. I'm not seeing it quite as much yet, but it's got to be coming.
Amazon said they were going to do it.
Well, they don't have enough. Actually, I don't think they made money last quarter.
No, they're not doing as well as they were.
Well, but it was kind of a bubble though, because everybody was at their house.
Well, yeah, they're back
and everybody
down
was kind of locked down.
Yeah, they're back down to pre-pandemic levels.
I watched something last night on YouTube that was kind of shocking. It was by Waste Management. It was some guy standing up talking about, you know, the environment in the world and what's going on and who the powers are, and everybody's talking about it's going to be China. But I didn't realize China made a serious blunder when they limited their children. Even though they got 1 billion people, or however they get 1.3 billion, they are an older population than we are. That's a problem, because if you don't have people coming in, the millennials are actually pretty good for us because they actually are consumers, and you know, they're buying things that we can produce and need to. But China is facing a different problem than I even thought about, just because of the age of the population. Because as they get older, they acquire wealth, they don't spend wealth. They do the same thing we do. So they're not keeping their wheel going around. And that is in a lot of countries. It's very similar, because now that everybody's going from third world to first world, they live their lives differently, and they don't, you know, produce as many children and do things different. So there's a lot of nuts and bolts that go into everything out there in this world.
Be proud like the Ukrainians. That's what I say. Make those wiring harnesses in the bomb shelter.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. I will say this is that I am not excited about, you know, the exchange of dollars between our countries, because they're going in somebody else's pocket. They shouldn't be. You know, I said it before. I said they're going to send over $35 billion and $7 of it will make it to the war zone. So, you know, I'm just very disgusted by all that. Anyway,
we will end on that disgusting note.
I'm disgusted, but everything will get good. I promise you.
Yes. Please like, subscribe, and share, and leave comments.
Please.
It's what's good under the hood. Greg Hood of Mazda Columbia, Rob Sanders, Fox Sports Radio 1400.
It's written on the wall behind
no,
me,
that's
sir.
what I'm reading. Andy Woods from 97.5 WCOS. Thanks for hanging out.
Andy the Reader.
Yeah, not a very good one, but I'm getting better.
That was a tough one to read. I will give you that.
Well, it was dark too.
Yeah.